Congress, New Mexico's 3rd Congressional District, as I was introduced. I am a Christian first, a patriot second, a conservative, then a Republican. I'm a northern New Mexican, 5 or 6 generations. I live on the other side of the mountain from Mora, in Peñasco, on the prettier side. Right out of high school, me and my wife went in the Air Force, served for 4 years. 2 years up in Woodsmith Air Force Base, Michigan, 2 years down here in Cannon Air Force Base, Clovis. I used to load bombs on planes. It was pretty interesting and fun. After that, my roots have always been tugging to come back home, and to New Mexico and up north. I got a job at the Cuesta Mines in Molicor in Cuesta, New Mexico for a year, got laid off. And then the local sheriff there saw something in me and gave me a job as a deputy. I served Taos County for 2 years as a deputy. And again, because of money and opportunity, we looked west, and I applied in California and Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas, Nevada called me first and hired me as a police officer. Police officer there for 22.5 years. I was good at it, and I really enjoyed it. Came back home. First of all, I never imagined myself being a police officer growing up, where children, as they always say, yeah, I want to be a cop or an astronaut, etc. I always figured I'd be an astronaut, but never a police officer. Came back, retired at age 50, back to my hometown in Peñasco, Guarito. I bought myself a Kubota, started tilling and plowing fields and growing my corn and beans, etc., minding my own business. And then the opportunity, and I was recruited, came about for me to run for the U.S. House of Representatives. I was kind of surprised again that someone saw something in me that I could do that. I never imagined I would be doing it, but I did not imagine that I couldn't do it. We all can if it's in us, because first of all, we're U.S. citizens. And I think the requirement is, 25 years of age, and I'm way past that. So, and even our Constitution says you don't even have to be a native-born citizen to become one. So I'm way past that. So at this point, we've been at it September also. We've been out there and putting our signs out. Hopefully all of you have seen them. And we're literally in the 3rd district with them. And we're terrifying old Ben Ray. And he has never reacted this way in the past. My mom and dad have said that he's never campaigned or started his campaign until August. And he doesn't even have an opponent in the primary. So we're going to make him, of course he's going to lose his seat, but we're going to make him work towards losing that seat. So with that, anybody have any questions of me? Yes, sir. Every time you ask a question, go ahead. No. Go ahead.
But what I want to know is, can you define how you are a conservative?
Conservative?
Yes.
Well, first and foremost, as a police officer, I believe in the law, right? And enforcing it. Well, we have a constitution, which is our basic law. So as a conservative, I feel that we need to follow that constitution because it works. And that was our founding. We've strayed away from it. Supreme Court is making law, which they have no business doing so. Our president is making law by fiat. He has no business. He even admitted, 23 or 32 times that he couldn't, and then did it. So all those things. So, in my opinion, they definitely are not conservative because they're not following our Constitution, and which is best for the people. And another thing I failed to mention, it all boils down to property. This individual here is against fracking. Well, if I own 1,000 acres in Sandoval and there's oil below it, how is the government able to prevent me from building and developing my property without due compensation, which our Constitution says they have to? It's happened in Mora. The county commission attempted to outlaw fracking. Well, a federal judge came back and said, well, Mora, since you don't want them to develop their property, you need to compensate them for their oil below their property. Well, Mora said, we're probably the 2nd or last poorest county in the union. How are we going to do that? So the federal judge says, well, I guess they can frack. So that's what a conservative, in my opinion, is all about. And sanctity of life, all those other things that go with it. Anything else to add to that? Did I answer your question? You answered. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
As a conservative myself, one of my biggest things is government intervention,
Very much so.
very much so. What's the status of this Pickles Wilderness expansion?
The Pecos Wilderness, in my opinion, all those lands should be returned to the state. And that's why we're one of the poorest states in the unions, because most of those lands are locked up by the federal government, who in turn pays no taxes. As a matter of fact, they charge fees for us to go onto those properties that they say are ours. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So the Pecos Wilderness, in the same sense, it's already big enough as it is. They want to increase it by 1/3. Well, old Ben Ray introduced the bill to make it so, and now he's regretting it because all his fellow Democrats that are related to me in those valleys are up in arms against it. They are upset because most of those lands and all those lands used to be the old Mercedes, the old land grants. And they in turn should be returned to the state, which in turn should be returned to the communities that originally owned them. So we can manage them, develop them, and work them. Because that's what they were designed for. Not to be locked up behind fences and gates so we can even go into them. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Any other questions? Hey, you guys were easy on me. Thank you.
You went through it real quickly, but you talked about your relatives in those canyons, and those meadows up there.
Well,
Be more specific about that, please.
5 to 6 generations, our ancestors came up through Mexico, up into northern New Mexico, and started in Santa Fe. Santa Fe's over 500 years old, Albuquerque 4. I think Taos is right at 350. My great-grandfather and his brother, as far back as I know, moved up from Cordova, New Mexico, which is right there just north of Santa Fe, and they homesteaded most of those lands up there. And I ended up with 10 of those acres. So those are jewels that we keep, and it's all tradition and our history, and we are all related. I'm probably related to that individual, Mr. Espinosa, somehow way back when. So, as they always say, blood is thicker than water. So it's going to work great to my advantage, and most and everybody, all the people up there, my neighbors in those valleys, have already said they're going to vote for me. So that's why Mr. Ben Ray Tuhan is terrified. And he knows it's coming. So with that, anything else? Did I answer your question?
Fine, great.
Yes, ma'am.
You think the government should return the land to its original inhabitants? So
That's what I just said, the land grants.
That's the native people.
I'm sorry?
That's the native people.
Well, they already have the Pueblos, and I have another opinion on the Pueblos. And the Pueblos, what they become prisons to these folks. They don't own that land. It belongs to the federal government. It's managed by them. They're told how and where to do it. They can't even build a house on it because it doesn't belong to them. Banks won't lend them money to build a house because they can't go on those lands to repossess those lands. They don't own that property. It's a reservation. In my opinion, it should be given back to those people and let them do what they want with it. But they have no choice now. It's managed for them by someone else. So, I mean, you can go back to history to the beginning of time. It belonged to someone else. The Apaches took it away from the Navajo. The Navajo took it away from the Pueblos. How far back do we go? Correct? So how do we decide? At least when the United States was established, when they came in and they honored all these properties, and we are all equal under the law. It's a lot better than any other country on this planet. Because if you go to Mexico and the local mayor likes your house, guess what? You're out. They can't do that here. And the Second Amendment enforces that. So, with that, anybody else have any questions? I like that. Thank you. Thank you.